Now, that brings me to that question about their personal, each woman paid a personal price, be it their marriage, their housing, their, like for me, it was everything. I lost everything coming forward. I mean, literally, and I'm still trying to gain my footing. And the monster that hurt me is one of the most powerful people on earth. So it's not over for me. And he's still not been investigated. He might be. And I said I would testify under oath, and I hope he is investigated. But that be that may as it may, with these women that came forward about such particular strong issues that really Western media tries to cover up and suppress, did you find that there's almost a gender bias against female whistleblowers, or is it just whistleblowers in general? I mean, what is there a gauge? Maybe I shouldn't put that on that, put that weight on it, but what is your thought about all of that? In other words, did you see the channels kind of rejecting it because it was about, some of the content was about sexual assault, abuse, and abuse, of that nature?
Yeah, I think they, in particular, Helen, everyone was used to Weinstein by the time we were making the film, and they knew the Weinstein story,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just became such a huge global movement.
Right.
Me Too, but with Helen, it was very different. I think I wonder where we got a lot of rejection from the fact that she was calling out the aid sector and
Mm-hmm.
charities.
The nonprofit
And
sector, yeah.
yeah, and she just said, look, she kept on saying, I'd be surprised if anyone funds this, because you're basically saying that there's people out there who go to war-torn countries or countries that have had an earthquake, and you totally rely on these aid workers to do good.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them don't, they just don't. And it's the
Right.
worst thing in the world to hear what they are doing. And
Mm-hmm.
they're in this position where they can give people that are desperate food, and they're exchanging that for sex. And that is a very, very hard pill to swallow, and to get
Mm-hmm.
that story out.
Right.
And people were spitting at Helen in the street when she exposed this. So
Really?
she had to leave Oxford, which was where she was living, and everyone from Oxfam headquarters was living. It was it was a bad situation, and everyone felt that because she spoke up, she was taking money away from the aid sector. So I think there are a few subjects that are very, the aid sector being one, is can put people off completely in terms
Mm-hmm.
of funding and in terms of not wanting to really engage. So I just don't, do you know what, that's so awful, I just don't want to engage in it. And you're saying something about charities, and it's like, yeah, but we're saying something about what's going wrong in charities, and if no one ever speaks up about it, it'll never get fixed. And ultimately, she scratched the surface, and she exposed huge miscarriages of justice that was going on within those organizations. And it wasn't just Oxfam, these things were happening across all aid sectors, all charities that were out in the field abusing their position. And since she's spoken, it's changed, and legislation has been brought in. So
Good.
it was really important for her to speak up. But yeah, a lot of the time people just didn't want to hear because of that, in particular those subjects, I think.
Interesting. And of course the UN has been exposed to taking advantage of vulnerable populations. So yeah, much more than Oxfam. And Eliza Blue in our space, she's she brings awareness about human sexual trafficking worldwide, and she had talked about the UN and also the FBI. They have not been, they've now discovered their abuses, and there's been no justice yet in that space either. So I think when there's people in power over vulnerable populations, unfortunately there are predators sometimes in that, right?
I think
um
that was what was coming
yeah.
up. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That, I think that was what was coming up a lot. It was that the people were hiring each other and
Mm-hmm.
friends, and that and going from country to country.
Yeah.
And the UN came up a lot. Yeah, when I was speaking to Helen, I had quite a few whistleblowers mention the UN, and do I want to cover that as well? But I think we had enough with Helen's story.
Right.